north at the top of the Canada Olympic Park bobsleigh run as we welcome you to this week's edition of Winter Speed on TSN. Hi folks, Peter Watts with you. Today it is the North American Team Challenge in Skeleton. 3 athletes from each of Canada and the United States down this 1,475-meter track. The best time ever posted in skeleton, 57.21 seconds. And all 6 athletes are capable of reaching that time on this day. The snow squalls will be a bit of a problem, but the excitement is about a team challenge where the flag flies proudly for the winner, and that's exciting for both the athletes and the coaches on both sides of the border.
Well, I think we've got a pretty good chance with this new team approach. It's going to be pretty interesting. It's going to be interesting what happens sort of leveling out if there's one hot person, which frequently happens in these races, that sort of balances it out.
A lot of our guys are coming along really well here. We're real happy with the performance so far this year.
Do you like this team format?
It's a little bit different for sure. I think I enjoy racing like this for sure.
Well, my hope for the Canadian team is that we will obviously beat the American team. I think our chances are excellent.
So clearly the athletes and the coaches both think this is a terrific sport, and I'm sure if you're watching it for the first time, you will as well by the time this half-hour edition of Winter Speed is ended on TSN. Interesting as well that this sport potentially could be in the Olympic Games in Nagano, Japan in 1998, and we'll be developing that theme through the course of this half hour. Right now, more on the racing tonight. Here are John Morgan and Clark Flynn.
Thanks, Peter. John Morgan with Clark Flynn, former member of the Canadian Olympic bobsled team. Clark, you were never a skeleton rider, but the skeleton was just taking off when people like you and I were competing, wasn't it?
It is, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, we used to see some tracks when we were in Europe, and we saw some sliders out here when we first started in Calgary, but now there's a whole flock of them.
Well, skeleton, this event here tonight's a unique event with the team, the 3 Canadians against the 3 Americans, but they're going to be really affected by this weather conditions out here. Light snow following, air temperature 30 degrees, track temperature's real good at 28 degrees Fahrenheit, but westerly winds 15 miles per hour. Clark, will that snow affect them?
Well, I sure think it will. It's going to collect, you know, unlike a bobsled, which it can track right through the snow, the skeleton's going to get caught up in it in the straightaway. So for some of the sliders who don't have the weight of the direction, that could put their sled all over the place.
Our first competitor of the day is 40-year-old Terry Howland from Pittsfield, Massachusetts in the United States. Clark, and this guy's got a chance to really put the pressure on the Canadians by coming down with a great run.
Well, certainly. I mean, he's going to have a good start. The one thing we're going to watch for, though, is he's got a new sled. It's actually built by Franz Klammer's brother, Kevlar frame. If he does have some difficulty, that's where it's going to be, and that's going to give the time advantage to the Canadian.
Well, like in bobsledding, the start's important. 5.70 is, and boy, he's all over the track, too.
Yeah. Here you see them trying to get that high leg turnover, big high heel kicks. He gets onto the sled pretty comfortably, a little sideways there with his feet. He's angled.
Well, he's only had about 4 trips on this sled, and it's showing it. I mean, you hear a lot of scratching on the ice. That's friction. And friction in this sport isn't the optimum line. And he's got problems.
Yeah, he's really in trouble. You saw him loop. He's laid out. Oh, he's over. Let's hope he can get back on. Well, I'll tell you, time-wise, he's in speed. He's lost everything. He's probably given himself a good shake, too.
Well, he's the first man down, and I don't think he's got the good line, Clark. And a lot of scratching, and, you know, it's kind of stupid for him to come out here in this race with a new sled, but this is the way you learn.
Well, he should have been trying this sled, you know, making some few more training runs, but that oftentimes is difficult. He's dragging his heels, tilting his head, laid off, big solid bumps.
103.30. He's the first rabbit down the track, but boy, did he have some trouble. Here he is out of Kreisel, Clark. Look at this action.
Well, what happened here is he came out way too soon. Gravity forced him back onto the edge, and he came over, and then all the weight's on the upper runner. He just tips right in, but good recovery to get back on. But boy, he really bumped himself. You see, he's favoring his elbow there, dragging along like Igor.
We'll be back.
Visa. It's the only card you need. And by COREL, the fastest in graphics.
Next up for the United States, Jeff Johnson, 33 years old, from Boston, Massachusetts. Graphic designer, 4th year in the national team for the United States, and 5.7's the first start we've seen, Clark, and let's see what he does. 5.9, 20 slower.
No, and he was actually in training this week. He was a 10th faster. You see him getting those heels up. It's so important for them to get that big thrust on the sled. Although he didn't have that quick leg turnover that you need. Now he's getting his body position set. He's looking down the track, getting nice and settled.
Little time on the left you'll see is Terry Hollins, and he's already he had a minus start time. Now he's a 200ths ahead of Holland. But of course, Holland had all sorts of problems. He's got to pick up the slack for the U.S. team's got a pretty good line, Clark.
Yeah, when they come down this straightaway coming into Kreisel, they want to come in from left to right, and they take a nice low, even line all the way around. Oh, he really bumped there. They've been doing that a lot in training. They've got to take their exit point a little sooner and not so hard.
Boys, look at the time difference there. He is really flying down the course. So Jeff Johnson recovering for the United States in this team skeleton event. Then with all 3 sleds combined time, his time 101.2, a very respectable time for Jeff Johnson.
Well, he had a pretty good clean run. Not so good at the start, but at least it was nice and clean down, so that really helps.
101.29. At the start for Canada, Mike Gladiotis of Banff, Alberta. He's a geologist, been on the team for 5 years, Clark, and here's Canada's best shot.
Well, he had some good runs here last year. It's so important that they get the beginning of the season, even in the middle, that they have a good start time. Well, he was a little off Jeff's time here.
5.7, he matched Terry Holland's time. Boy, he's got a long, lean body, Clark.
He sure does, and it's a good advantage there because he can get his head nice and outstretched, get that body position, nice layout. Now, steering these sleds, they do it not only by tilting their head, but also pushing down with the pelvis and their knees. That brings the sled around. The front part of the runners are actually round, and back at the end of the runners, a little curve.
Well, he's got a pretty good time going here. 71-mile-an-hour speed. Jeff Johnson at 71.4, but Johnson banged here on the outlet. Gladios on his home track, no problem. Time in the left, that's going to be Jeff Johnson of the United States. 600ths of a difference here in the bottom part of the track as Mike Gladios comes to the finish. The geologist from Banff finishes 1:01. Good time for Mike Gladios. That Darth Vader shield, and here he comes out of long straightaway into Kreisel.
Yeah, he's dragging his foot there. That takes a little bit of time and speed off, but it helps his direction a bit. Now he wants to drift a bit to the left-hand side, and as he comes in, he wants a nice, even line all the way down. You got his head right down. He's not even looking where he's going, and here as the pressure releases, he's able to look up and find his exit point. A little high, and he comes off a little steep. He wants to bring his line down a little sooner.
1:01.08 for Mike Gladios. Best time so far, but again, it's a team event. The USA has 2 guys down.
Skeleton and track. James Shea.
Up next, sliding for Team Canada, Scott McBride.
Scott McBride, he had a chance to talk with Scott there as he was setting up. He's been on the team a couple of years. You see, not so bad a start. See how they have that sled? One of the runners is in the groove line. That keeps the sled tracking properly. About the 50-meter mark, the groove line runs out.
Remember, this is combined time, so there's 2 Americans down. This is the 2nd Canadian. That's a great time right there, Clark.
He is. He's looping those curves a bit. Good lines, respected for the bobsleigh ones. Oh, a little hit.
Oh, sideways.
Take a lot of speed off there.
No time, 69.8. That's deficient time compared to the 2 American sleds, but of course, Holland bumped badly right here. Scott McBride, he's from Calgary. 4 years he's been sliding.
Well, he said his problem curves were going to be that trans 5, which sets him up for that omega 6, 7, and of course 8 good problems, and the exit of Kreisel. And he's had a little bit of difficulty with those.
There's his time, 1:01.03, and those 2 Canadian times are going to put the Canadians ahead of the 2 American sleds. So after 4, 2 Canadians and 2 Americans down, the Canadians have the lead. Here he is going in out of 8.
Yeah, well, good recovery. Even though he got sideways and has to drag his feet, he still stayed on the sled. They've got to let the sled come all the way around the curve before they take it off. They're taking it off too soon, and they're forcing themselves back up on the curve, and they're going to tip over.
101.33 puts the Canadians in the overall team lead. Here's our lone female competitor in tonight's competition, Marianne Podgorski of Toronto. Yes, there's head-to-head competition between men and women. No discrimination out here in Calgary.
It's so important. Now they got to focus and stay concentrated on not only getting the sled off the blocks, you can see the blocks which starts them off, but also getting a nice clean load, getting on top of that sled so it stays in the runner grooves there. Here, see, this is one of the notes. The Canadians, when they picked their team, thought it was going to be more of a co-ed competition, so they put Marianne in place. But the Americans put up 3 nails. But she does well on this track. A lot of experience.
Not bad. Look at the speed. She got the same speed. In fact, she's got better speed than 2 of the men.
Yep, got her head nice and low, picks that exit. Nice, clean exit. That's the best we've seen all competition.
She's got the 6th best time so far, but she's definitely been erasing that start deficiency. Got good form on the sled, Clark.
Well, that's certainly one of the things she gives up is that start, but boy, she's been able to make up some time all the way down.
And she beat Terry Howland of the United States, so that's going to put Canada in the lead. They had Marianne Podgorski, the 3rd member of the Canadian team. Mike Gladiotis from Banff, he set the pace. He's got the best time down the track. Jeff Johnson from Boston, he's not far behind. Scott McBride from Canada puts Canada in the lead. You can see there that the Canadians have over a 2-second lead over the United States. Right now, Peter Watts is standing by with our first heat individual leader, Mike Gladiotis of Banff. Peter?
Mike, terrific run, the first run down this course. Tell me about it.
All right, thank you. Well, the track's a little rough tonight, a little bit of snow on it, but everybody's given pretty good effort here. The ice has been pretty well prepared by these guys. Nice spritzing on it, but a little slower than we're hoping for.
What do you think you can improve on in the second run?
I'll be looking for a little bit of a cleaner run out of 8. Not so much on the walls.
Good luck in the second run.
All right, thank you.
All right, Mike Gladiotis, the leader after 1 run in the North American Team Skeleton competition. John Morgan, story's all yours.
Thanks, Peter. And when we return, it's more skeleton, the thrill seeker sport from Calgary.
Skeleton in more than 40 years. And as you can imagine, the participants in the sport are pretty excited about that possibility.
It is looking good, and I'm really excited about it. I'm getting a little long in the tooth, and I might be too old by the time it does finally come around, but I'm really looking forward to it happening.
Realistically, I think it's doable, and I think Bob Story of the FIBT is likely going to be able to swing it for Japan. I know he swung it for the 2002 Olympics, which hopefully will be in Salt Lake City.
It's an exciting sport, and it is television friendly. People like it when they see it on television. Secondly, it's a very competitive sport. It allows men and women to compete on an equal footing, which is always an advantage. For the IOC, it's an added event in the winter program, and they need more sports in the winter. So this is an added event that doesn't require a new venue, that doesn't require great extra expenditure, and adds excitement.
People can relate to it. It reminds them of what they used to do when they were kids, going down the big hill at the golf course or something on their flexible flyer. So it's got a lot of appeal, it's cheap, and we hope everyone enjoys watching it, hopefully in the Olympics in '98.
So pretty exciting prospects for skeleton racing, and perhaps that will give this sport, which is kind of the poor cousin of bobsleigh events, a new lift as we approach the 21st century. John?
All right, thanks a lot, Peter. You can see here that the 3 Canadian sleds have over a 2-second lead over the 3 American sleds. Time now for the second heat. Terry Howland from Pittsfield, Massachusetts is our first competitor. He's from the United States.
Nice ride, nice ride.
Had the worst time in the first heat because he's driving a brand new sled, Clark, and I can't believe he's even going. The first heat, he cracked his shoulder, and I'm surprised he's even out here to do it. But it's a team competition. The Canadians have a 2-second 900ths lead, and Terry's the one that's really got to improve on his first heat time.
Well, they definitely need that result. You know, in this team competition, everybody's time counts, so He's already started bumping up top. You know, with the snow on the track there, it's going to help the sled go better, slower, but at least it's going to track straighter.
Well, he had 5.7 in the first heat. He had a 5.67 in the second heat, and I'm surprised he can even run.
Well, he cracked his shoulder. We saw him there when he finished the course. He just opened that shoulder, could already pick up his sled.
Well, Terry Howland, I mean, this is where he had all the problems, but he looks pretty good here, Clark. Whoa, that's a nice come off there.
A lot smoother. Let's see if he keeps his head down. You can hear a little dragging there, but...
Oh, the snow's ticking up now. He had a terrible time in the first heat. He had 103.36. I got to believe he's a lot better than that in this heat.
Well, that new sled, you know, Kevlar shell.
101.36. 2 seconds better. Unbelievable time for Terry Howland. So the United States could close this 2-second gap. Next up, she was 5th in the first heat, Marianne Podgorski of Toronto.
Here we see Marianne Podgorski, the first Canadian to go down. She had the slowest time of the 3 Canadians, but even still, it was better than Terry Howland's first time. Let's hope that, even though she gives up a lot of time at the start, let's hope she has a nice, clean run. She just doesn't have the strength and power we see out of some of the other competitors here.
Well, she's got a time in the first heat of 102.72, so she had...
Oh, tough entrance in there to 5. Really hit that entrance.
She's a 2.9 already down to Terry Howland.
Little looping there, almost 2 seconds back now, Terry's time. Oh, yeah, dragged her foot too early off. Lost a lot of speed there. She's giving it, what, almost 2 miles per hour there.
Clark, I thought there was no way the Canadians could catch the Americans. Now, this 2 seconds deficiency the U.S. had could be picked up right here. Terry Howland redeemed himself with a fantastic time here in the second heat.
Well, the pressure's going to go back to the top. I mean, the other 2 Canadian sliders have to have great times.
1:03.88, 2:06.60. So the U.S. has now got a 2-second lead overall. Wow.
Jeff Johnson, you got started.
Our next competitor, the youngster from Canada, Scott McBride.
Here's Scott, little drift. Oh, big mistake here. Geez, he hit that counter wall coming into curve 2, and then that tucked him low all the way around. He just plowed himself.
Well, he's
bunting. Oh, gee, he's all over the place.
Now, Scott's got his hands full. He's from Calgary. His partner in a family-owned sign company. He's been sliding for 4 years. Doesn't like curve 8. And here's curve 8. Oh!
Yeah, look at the sparks kick up there when that metal, that bunk hit the side of the track there where the pavement's exposed.
He had a time of 101.33 in the first heat. Great time for the Canadians, but I don't know if he's going to get that here.
These light matches all the way down. Look, he's 8/10 behind here. That's hurting us.
Remember, this is combined time, and it favors the Canadians in the first heat, but this is going to be a telltale right here, 102.42. This is going to put the USA in the lead. Here's a look at the current standings. We still have some of the best sleds yet to come.
Winter Speed is being brought to you by Husky. In Canada, it's Husky. By Visa. It's the only card you need. And by COREL, the fastest in graphics, official sponsor of the Canadian.
Some of the best sleds yet to come. Jeff Johnson from Boston, Massachusetts. He's a graphic designer. And he had a great time in the first heat. Second place, he had a 101.29. Start time 5.92. That's not a very good start. Clark had a much better start time in the first heat.
Yeah, you know, we can draw some, look at all the snow. Look at the snow collecting in the track there. They get the sled caught at the runners, and it just pulls them right over.
It's about a 60-pound sled, Clark. A little bit different than the bobsleds. I mean, it's almost like a snowplow coming down there now.
Yeah, but we can draw a lot of comparisons. I mean, to be good in this sport, you need that great start. You need to make those subtle movements, both in the straightaway and on the curves, to give it direction. And I'll tell you, it's costly. Anytime you get skidding sideways.
Check out his chin here, Clark. Look out, 69 miles an hour. Your chin's just 2 inches off the ice. Now, this is a sport that's just made for television.
Yeah, and the pressure on the neck. I mean, all those G-forces coming around there trying to pull your head right down to the ice. Their chin's about an inch off the ice.
USA's got the lead here. All he's got to do is come down at a low 102 to keep the USA in a comfortable mark. 103.91, though, it's a terrible time.
912.
Well, it's certainly looking good for the Canadians in this team competition. We got Mike Gladiotis, who had a great first run. Look at all the problems here up in 2, all the snow. He's dragging his feet, the sled sideways. He misses that whole curve. Here, real late out of Chryso, but he manages to counter effect. I mean, he hits the side, but at least he doesn't drive his shoulder into it.
Quickly, our final sled, Mike Gladiotis trying to clinch a Canadian victory. He came down at a smoking time, 101.08.
Well, he's had the best upper part here. That 1-2 transition was really nice. If he gets a clean 4, we can expect him to have a good time.
This competition is real close. Mike Gladiotis will determine whether or not Canada wins the event. Remember, it's 3 heats. It's total time for Canada with 3 sleds. It's total time for the United States. Canadians had a 2-second lead, and right now it's...
Look at his position, though. He gets his chin up, though. Nice flat position. You see his body arch just a bit. Moves himself a little bit forward there so he can get more speed.
Well, Gladiotis comes in here with another 101 time, and he's going to be right there. And he's got a probably a, I'd say about a 101.70 or so, 101.60. 101.62. Mike Gladiotis, I think, just won Canada this team competition.
Good enough for first place. Scott McBride.
Overall, he's got the best time down the track by far.
Well, he made a good contribution.
Mike Gladiotis from Banff, he was the MVP for Canada, had the best combined time. Scott McBride from Canada, not far off for the Canadians. Terry Howland from the United States, the best overall time for the Americans. Combined time, you can see the Canadians over a 2-second lead. That's just the way it was in the first heat. And standing by with the winning Canadian team is my colleague, Peter Watts.
Thank you, John, very much. Good win for Team Canada in this competition. Marianne, let's start with you. What was the course like?
The first run, it was really smooth, really fast track. The second one, obviously, after going down after the bobsled, is a lot more pitted and rutted, and it made it much more challenging to drive the course. But both runs were excellent, and I think we had a good performance tonight. We're proud of it.
Mike, do you like the concept?
Well, it's new for us for sure, sliding as a team, but it puts together a fun race for us, and I enjoyed it.
Scott, the big challenge, of course, not very much practice time on this track prior to running this competition.
I showed it tonight. First run seemed reasonably clean, but I'm a lightweight, and I just can't get the weight to get down the track as fast as some of the other sliders here.
Congratulations on a great performance here today. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Team Canada. John?
Thanks, Peter. You just witnessed the North American Team Skeleton Championships. First time this format's ever been used. 3 Canadian sleds against 3 American sleds. And boy, the Canadians walked away with the medals, but they were very lucky Terry Howland didn't do it both heats.
Well, he had his problems in that first heat, but he really took time to focus and think through and get control of his sled in that second heat. Big plus for the Canadians was Mike Gladiotis. I mean, he had 2 great runs back-to-back, and that put the Canadians up on top.
Well, there's one thing that is sure. This is a wild sport. We hope to see this format later on in the future in this sport. So for Peter Watts, Clark Flynn, I'm John Morgan. Thanks for watching Winter Speed on TSN.